Just because your application lives on AWS, it doesn't mean it can handle millions of users. In fact, AWS will not save you just because you're running on the cloud. You need the right pieces in the right order. And in this video, we build that stack from zero and we answer one question. How do you turn an application into something that AWS can run for millions of users? So let's get started. Your app is not ready for AWS just because the code works. First, it needs a package AWS can pull for you. Run, scan, and repeat. This is where Amazon ECR comes in. Think of ECR like a private AWS native image registry. Your pipeline builds the image, tags it, and push it into the ECR. ECR stores it, scans it, and locks it behind your AWS account. You can trust which version is running, and every compute service can pull the same image. Now, the image is built, scanned, and ready. But a stored image does nothing by itself. Where does it actually run? Now, the image is packaged. Now, AWS needs somewhere to run it for us. ECR is the shelf. ECS Fargate is where the container comes alive. You give AWS the image, CPU, and memory. You don't pick EC2 instances or patch hosts. You say, run this container with 2 virtual CPUs and 4 gigs of memory. Fargate places it for you. Then ECS keeps watching. If a task crashes, ECS notices. It starts a replacement and brings the service back to the desired count. When traffic grows, ECS adds more tasks from the same ECR image. 1 become 10, 10 become 100. The app is running now, but it needs a place for real data. Containers are replaceable. One can crash, restart, or move, and the app keeps going. But your data cannot disappear with it. That is the job of Aurora. Aurora is a cloud-built relational database. It speaks MySQL or Postgres, but the storage layer is built for AWS scale. Every write is copied 6 times across 3 availability zones. Aurora waits for enough healthy copies, commits the write, and keeps moving. If an availability zone fails, Aurora can fail over automatically. One more trick. Add reader replicas. Writes stay on the writer, but read-heavy requests can spread across replica endpoints. That gives Aurora more read capacity without changing your app's data model. Storage grows as your data grows. Now, compute and data are in place. Next, we need a front door for our application. At this stage, we have both compute and data ready. But users still need a real way into our system. So let's find out how. Right now, the architecture is alive inside the VPC. But from the internet, it's basically invisible. Users cannot politely knock on the ECS task. They need a front door. That front door is usually an application load balancer. The ALB receives HTTP and HTTPS traffic, terminates TLS, and route requests to your Fargate tasks. It can route by path, by host, or by rules you define. So /API/users can go one way, and /API/orders can go another. The ALB also keep checking health. If task B crashes, traffic doesn't keep flowing into a broken container. The Fargate group marks it unhealthy. Traffic drains away from it. Task A and Task C keep serving users while the replacement warms up. That is the part people feel as reliability. For most web applications, ALB is the workhorse. But sometimes you need raw network speed. Gaming, streaming, IoT, or millions of long-lived TCP connection. That is when network load balancer enters. NLP works slower in the stack at layer 4, so it can push a huge throughput with very low latency. So ALB gives you smart web routing. NLB gives you raw TCP power. Either way, traffic is finally reaching the app. But users still need a real domain and they need speed around the world. Users will not type random AWS load balancer address, they type your domain. So myapp.com needs to point to the right place. And Route 53 is AWS DNS. It reads your hosted zone and answers with where traffic should go. With a short TTL, resolvers know when to refresh. But DNS only helps user find you. It doesn't make the world smaller. That is CloudFront. CloudFront puts cached content near your users. A user in London should not wait on a Virginia origin if London already has the file. Images, CSS, and JavaScript can come from the edge in milliseconds. Dynamic API requests still go back to ALB, ECS, and Aurora. That split is the trick. Serve what you can from the edge, send only what must be lived back to the origin. Now users can find the app and the page feels fast, but what happens when they upload a big file? Notice the pattern in here. Every layer removes a different bottleneck in your architecture. Picture a user uploading a profile photo or a big video. You don't put that file inside the container, and you don't shove it into the database. Both paths hurt later. S3 is object storage. Files go into buckets as objects. They can be huge, cheap, durable, and easy to serve later. Not inside compute and not inside the relational database tables. S3 is built for 11 nines of durability. In plain English, it is designed to keep massive number of objects safe for years. The upload does not need to pass through your Fargate task. Your API can create what is known as a pre-assigned URL. Then the user talks directly to S3 for a short, safe window. The file is stored. Processing it right now would block the app. So we need to decouple the work. A user uploads a 4K video. If your API waits to compress it, the user just sits there, spinning and spinning. Requests pile up behind it, and SQS fix the shape of the problem. Your API does the fast part first. It accepts the upload, drops a queue message, and tells the user it worked. The heavy work can happen later. That queue is a shock observer. If 10 users upload, it holds 10 jobs. If a million users upload, it still holds the work until worker catches up. Your API stays quick because it's not doing everything at once. Do the user-facing work now. Queue the slow work for later. But now we have a new question. Who processes the queue without ideal servers? This is the key idea. Keep slow work out of the request path. You could run servers all day waiting for messages, but then you pay when nothing is happening. For background jobs, that feels wrong. Lambda is event-driven compute. When SQS has a message, Lambda wakes up, runs your function, and disappears. No server waiting in the corner. No ideal billing for being ready. One message triggers one invocation. The function starts, reads the event, does the work, and exits. You pay for the milliseconds it runs. That is the recipient. If the queue gets huge, Lambda can fan out. Many messages are consumed by many functions running in parallel. Small jobs, large spikes, fast scale. Now the slow work is off the request path, but the database is still getting hit hard. We need a faster place for hot data. At scale, users ask for the same thing again and again. The home feed, the product list, the same profile. If every read hits Aurora, the database gets tired fast. ElastiCache put Redis between your app and Aurora. The first request may miss the cache, so the app reads from Aurora and stores the answer. The next request can hit memory instead. And remember, memory is fast. Hot reads comes back in milliseconds or less. Most read traffic never reaches Aurora. The database cools down, latency drops, and cost drops with it. Cache first when the data is hot. Database second when the answer is missing. Reads are fast now, but how do you know when something breaks? At this point, speed is not enough. You also need to see the full system picture. By now, the architecture is powerful. But powerful system can fail quickly. A task leaks memory, Lambda starts throwing errors, Aurora CPU clamps. How do you know before users fill it? That is CloudWatch. It collects metric, logs, alarms, and events. It turns moving parts into something you can see. Every service sends signals. ECR, ECS, Aurora, ALB, Route 53, up to the ElastiCache. Those signals become dashboards, and those dashboards becomes alarms, and they becomes action. If CPU crosses the line, CloudWatch raises an alarm. That alarm can trigger scaling before the app melts down. The story is not one magic service. It is the chain. Build the image, run the container, store the data, open the front door, cache what is hot, queue what is slow, watch everything. That's how you scale an app to millions on AWS. Build it one layer at a time. I wanted to end with one last lesson. AWS can give you powerful building blocks, but it cannot rescue from bad queries, messy code, or weak data model. The real scaling starts in the smallest line of code that you write, and it then moves towards into the infrastructure that you own. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any question, please feel free to drop it in the comment. Thank you for watching.